Good morning, class. As we have discussed the chapter first, that was the fundamental unit of life, the cell. So, what was cell? Cell was the structural and functional, it was the basic unit of life. Now, we'll discuss the tissues. So, tissues are a group of cells that perform similar functions. So, tissues can be said as an aggregation of different types of cells. So, cells is the first unit, and then by combination of many cells that are performing same function combines tissues. The tissues is the chapter that we'll discuss today. So the multicellular organisms are made up of millions of cells that we have discussed. So cells show division of labor. Division of labor means that we have studied there are two types of organisms: the unicellular organisms, for example amoeba, and the multicellular organisms. So in cases of the unicellular organism or the single cell body, the division of labor is not found, as only one cell is present, then all the work is performed by that single cell. Whereas in the case of multicellular organisms, the cells are different and each cell is performing its specific function. So this is the difference between the unicellular and multicellular organisms. There is no division of labor, therefore the multicellular organisms do not have any uh, very appropriate or very good tissue system also. So the division of labor is very much important when we talk about the tissues. As cells show division of labor and each cell perform a particular function very efficiently, then such efficient performing functions are also done by the tissue. So what is tissue now? Tissue is a group of cells that are similar in structure and origin, and they come from the same parent cell. So same parent cell means the same type of cell combine and form a tissue, and all those tissue that are made up of similar cells also perform similar functions. The study of tissues is called as histology, and this term was coined by Bichette in the year of 1792. Now, what is the utility of tissues in multicellular organisms? As I told you, there is no utility of the tissues in the unicellular organisms because of no division of labor, but in multicellular organisms, the tissues are of utmost importance. Multicellular organisms have millions of cells. Each group of cells is called tissue, and it performs a special function very efficiently. The muscle cells, they are for the purpose of contraction and relaxation so that the body could do movements. Then the nerve cells, they carry the messages, and the blood is also a type of tissue. It is a connective tissue. Then the same tissues are also found in the plants, but they are performing different functions. So in plants there are vascular tissues. These are also called as the complex tissues, the xylem and phloem. So the function of xylem is to conduct water, and phloem functions to conduct the food. So in multicellular organisms, these show division of the labor. Now, what is the importance of tissues? Let's discuss this. Formation of tissues has brought about a division of labor in multicellular organisms. Tissues become organized to form organs. You can see in the diagram when many tissues combine, they form organs, as well as these organs converted to the organ systems. The workload of individual cell has decreased due to origin of tissues. As a result of improved organization and higher efficiency, multicellular organisms have higher survival rate. Due to this, the presence of tissues, the multicellular organisms have a higher survival rate as compared to the unicellular organisms. Then, why plants and animals are made up of different types of tissues? The plants and animals are two different types of organisms, as we know that. So plants are autotrophic organisms, so they prepare their own food by the process of photosynthesis. Moreover, plants are stationary or they are fixed at one position only. Since they do not consume or need much energy, so most of the plant tissues are supportive, which provide them with structural strength. Most of these tissues such as xylem, phloem, sclerenchyma, cork and are the dead tissues, as plants are stationary, so they are not moving from one place to another, and that's why they are not needing very much higher energy. For this purpose, most of the tissues in the plant are just for the purpose of protection as well as support. So, and the tissues in the plant, they always contain a living protoplasm. Animals, on the other hand, are heterotrophic. They have to move in search of food and also for the finding shelter or for finding their particular habitat or their home where they can survive. So they need more energy as compared to the plants. So most of the tissues they contain are living. They are also containing the living protoplasm. Now let's discuss some differences between the animal as well as the plant tissues. In the plants, dead supportive tissues are more abundant as compared to living tissues. So in plant tissues, living protoplasm is present, but it is in very much lesser amount as compared to the animal tissue. So animal tissue contains more living protoplasm as compared to plant tissue. This is because animal are performing majority of energy requiring work. Then the plant tissues require less maintenance energy, whereas animal tissues require more maintenance energy, because in the process of moving from one place to another, more cells are torn or wear off, or they are getting degenerated. So the animals are requiring more maintenance as compared to the plants. Then there is a differentiation of meristematic and permanent tissues. In case of plant cells, the division is of the tissues is mainly into two types: the meristematic tissues and the permanent tissues. So, what are meristematic tissues? Meristematic tissues are those that are found on the tip region, and they are uh, basically basically used for the division or continuous division of the tips. And permanent tissues are special type of meristematic tissues only. When meristematic tissue lose their ability to divide any further, then they become the permanent tissues. And such a differentiation is completely absent in case of the animal. Now, due to the activity of meristematic tissues, plants continue to grow throughout the life, but as these meristematic tissues are completely absent in animals, so animals grow only up to a certain age. Then organization of plant tissues is very simple, but on the other hand, organization of animal tissues is complex with the development of more specialized and localized organs and organ systems. So in plant cells, the tissue organization is very much simple, whereas in case of animals, the tissues combine to form organ, then organ also combine to form organ system. So this makes a tissue system very much complex. Then last is the tissues organization is meant for stationary habitat of life in plants, and for animals the tissue organization is majorly targeted so that it helps in higher motility in case of animals. So now we'll discuss today the plant tissues. So these are the differentiation or the division of plant tissues. How many types are there? The major two types: meristematic, that are capable of cell division, as well as permanent, which have gone mature and lost the ability of dividing any further. Then permanent tissues are further divided into simple as well as complex. Now the simple tissues are those tissues that are composed of only single types of cells, and complex tissues are composed of more than one type of cell. So in the category of complex tissue comes the xylem and phloem. Xylem and phloem are also divided on the types or the on the number of parts they are made up of. Then simple tissues are the parenchyma. These are made up of only one type of cell. Then collenchyma, then sclerenchyma, and parenchyma as well as collenchyma, when combined together, they form the chlorenchyma. Now we'll move towards the meristematic tissues. So meristematic tissues, I told you in a brief that they are the those tissues that have power to divide, and they always form new cells. So these are found on the tip, because always there is a growth in the tip region, that is either the stem tip or the tip of the root. What is the nature of these meristematic tissues? The cells of meristems divide continuously and help in increasing the length as well as the girth of the plant. This is the length of the plant apical, and intercalary meristem helps in increasing the girth, that is this width. So these are two types: the apical meristem and intercalary meristem. There is one more special type, the lateral meristem. So now this was the nature. The cell shows the following characteristics. The characteristics are: the cell of meristematic tissue are similar in structure, and they have very thin cellulose cell wall. So the cell wall of the meristematic tissues are made up of cellulose and very much thin. Then the meristematic cells may be spherical. The shape can be of various types, that can be spherical, oval, polygonal, as well as rectangular in shape. Then the meristematic cells are compactly arranged and do not contain any intercellular spaces. What are intercellular spaces? The space that is present between two cells is called as the intercellular space. And in these meristematic tissues, This type of space is completely absent. Now, each meristematic cell contains dense or abundant cytoplasm and a single large nucleus. So, when these cells are uh, arranged in very much compact manner, they also contain in them a very much dense or abundant cytoplasm, and one large nucleus is also present in these cells. So, the meristematic cells contain few vacuoles or no vacuoles at all. The vacuoles are very much lesser in amount, or either if they are present, but if the vacuoles are not present, then mostly the vacuoles are absent in these. Now, what is the occurrence? Where they occur? Meristematic tissues are growth tissues and are found in the growing regions of the plant. So, according to the position, the plant meristems are apical, lateral, as well as the intercalary. So, now what is the apical tissues? The apical meristem tissues are those that are situated at the growing tip of the stem root, that is shoot apex, as well as the root apex. Apical meristems are also found at the apices of leaf. So this is the position where you can find the apical meristems, this and this for the roots. Now we'll talk about the intercalary. They are located at the base of the leaves or internodes. These are the internodes. You can see these. The nodes are uh, the nodes are being disturbed by some structures that we call the internodes. And in the sugarcane, you must have seen some knot-like structures present between the length of that sugarcane. Those are the internodes. So uh, the meristem, that is the intercalary, is present at the leaves or the internodes. Examples: stems of grasses or other monocots. Such tissues are also occur below the nodes. So these are mostly found near the leaves as well as near the nodes. What is the function? The functions are: meristematic tissues act as parent tissues from which other tissues develop. So meristematic tissues are those which develop new tissues. So these are also called as the parent tissues. These tissues take part in growth by the formation of new cells. With the help of the meristems, plants continue to produce new leaves, branches of stem and roots, as well as flowers, fruits and root hairs. So majorly for formation of all these things which are composing a particular plant, for example, branches of stem, roots, flowers, fruits and the root hairs, all these are considered to be formed from the meristematic tissue. So this is the major function of meristematic tissue. The place of injury in plants is healed up by the formation of new cells by meristem. So if there is some injury in the plant, then that injury can be recovered by regular division of the meristematic tissues. The cell or the plant shoots lodged or bent by wind are made to grow upright by the activity of intercalary meristem. So if due to the action of wind, once this branch may got tilt, then this can be regain its size and become of apical length once the intercalary meristem has started to function. So intercalary meristem has its role in uh, taking the branch of a stem to its original position if it's tilted by the action of wind. So now different types of meristems have different functions. Lateral meristem also have their particular function. This is, it causes the organ. The organs make in plants, the organ are stem as well as root. So they causes the organ to increase its diameter and girth. This is called as a secondary growth. The growth which occurs in upward direction or for roots in the lower direction, downward direction, it is called primary growth, and the growth which occurs sideways, that is caused by the lateral meristem, is called as the secondary growth. So for example, the cork cambium or the phellogen, which produces a protective cork on the outside of secondary cortex, are formed by the cork is the protective tissue that is found in the plant. It is formed by the lateral meristem. Now we'll talk about the permanent tissues. What happens to the cells formed by meristematic tissues? Cells derived from the division of meristematic tissues, they take up specific role and lose their ability to divide. They thus form a type of permanent tissue. When the meristematic tissues are losing their ability to divide any further, they are forming the permanent tissues. The development process by which cells derived from meristematic tissues take up a permanent shape, size, and function is called differentiation. So now when the meristematic tissues have completely matured themselves and lose their ability to divide any further, they are differentiating themselves into performing specific functions of the specific parts of the plant. So they are now of definite shape, size, and function. This is the term we call as differentiation, allotting different functions to different types of tissues. The permanent tissues are divided into these the different types: simple permanent as well as the complex permanent tissues. The simple permanent tissues include the parenchyma, collenchyma as well as sclerenchyma, and the complex permanent tissues include xylem as well as phloem. First we will discuss the parenchyma. The parenchyma are the living cells. The nature of parenchyma, the word para comes from beside and enchyma means infilling. So they forms the bulk of the plant body. Parenchyma cells are living and possess the power of division. The cells are rounded or isodiametric. Isodiametric means the cells are of one size and there is no bending or anything in the cells. If they are oval, they will be oval only from everywhere. If they are rectangular, they will be rectangular. That is, they are equally expanded on the all sides. The wall is not very thick and it is made up of living cells, the cellulose. The parenchymatous cells are oval, rounded, polygonal or elongated in shape. The cell wall is thin and encloses a very dense cytoplasm, and it contains a small nucleus, and this is surrounded by a large central vacuole. So now vacuole is present in the parenchyma cells. They also contain a living protoplasm, and the intercellular space is completely absent in the parenchymal cells. The occurrence. Now we'll discuss where they are found. The parenchyma is widely distributed in plants besides such as stem, roots, leaf, flowers, and fruits. They are found everywhere in the plant. Thus, the parenchyma tissue is found in the soft parts of the plant such as cortex of roots, ground tissues in stems, and mesophils of the leaves. It is also distributed in the pith region, the medullary region, as well as packing tissues in the xylem and phloem. So now you can see they are found almost everywhere wherever the soft parts are present. That means parenchyma is a soft tissue. What are the functions of this? Parenchyma serves as a packing tissue to fill the spaces between other tissues and maintain the shape and fitness of the plant due to its turgid cells. So it is basically for providing a shape and providing fitness to the plant. Due to the turgidity may be referring to the osmotic property. So the parenchyma acts as a supportive tissue and it provides support to the stem of a herbaceous plant. As we all know, herbaceous plants are very much smaller in size and they are very much delicate. So they are parenchyma providing the support to these plants. The main function of parenchyma is to store and assimilate food. Parenchyma serves as food storage tissue. So they store mainly the starch. As we all know, starch is the storage tissue that is found in the plants. So they function in the storage of starch. Now, transport of materials also occurs through cells or cell walls of the parenchyma cells. Parenchyma cells are metabolically active. Their intercellular spaces allow gaseous exchange. If the chloroplast is present in the parenchymal tissue, it is called as chlorenchyma. So the term chlorenchyma comes when the parenchyma cells contains a chloroplast in them, and they also have the property to perform photosynthesis. The like for example, the mesophyll of leaves have the chloroplast in them, and they are having the ability to perform photosynthesis. That's why it is called as chlorenchyma in case of mesophyll of leaves. In case of hydrophytes, that is the aquatic plants such as water hyacinth or hydrilla, the larger air cavities are present in parenchyma so that they are buoyant. What does the buoyancy means? It means that the ability to float on water and to not getting submerged into the water. So this buoyancy is provided by the parenchyma. It is of special type called as the arenchyma. Now in xerophytes, for example, the arid plants, the plants which are found in the desert region, these are the succulent plants which have fleshy parts so that they can store water and food for a longer time. Parenchyma in this case acts as a water storage tissue. Now we'll discuss in the diagram you can see the isodiametric cells are present, that is the walls are very much thin and no deposition of any substance. Now the collenchyma. The nature of collenchyma, the word colla means glue. So the nature of this tissue consists of, these are also the living cells. It shows many features of parenchyma but is characterized by the deposition of extra cellulose at the corners of the cells. You can see there are no extracellulose at the corners and the isodiametric cells are present, but collenchyma, it is similar to parenchyma in many ways, but the difference lies that is the cellulosic deposition is in much greater amount as compared to the parenchyma. So in collenchyma, intercellular spaces are greatly absent. I told you that intercellular spaces are completely absent, but in this the intercellular spaces is present, but in very much less amount. Parenchyma cells are elongated in shape and they often contain a few chloroplasts. The occurrence of these are the cells of the parenchyma are located below the epidermis, that is hypodermis. Below epidermis, there's a layer called hypodermis. There we can find the parenchyma, mostly in the dicot stem and the petiole of leaf. So these cells also occur in the midribs of dicot leaves. Parenchyma is absent in monocot stem, roots and leaves. So parenchyma is majorly present in the case of dicot. Dicot are the more primitive plant as compared to the monocots. So dicots are those which contain two cotyledons as well as the monocots are those which contain only single cotyledon. So what is the function of parenchyma? It is also a mechanical tissue in young dicots, stems and provides mechanical support and elasticity. Thus, parenchyma provides tensile strength with flexibility to those organs in which it is found. So it is majorly for performing the uh, support and elasticity to the plant in which it is found, mostly in the case of dicots. It allows easy bending of various parts, so that bending elasticity is for if in the case of very much high velocity wind, if the branch of a stem gets even tilted, then it should not break, and this purpose is fulfilled by the presence of collenchyma. When the cells of collenchyma contain some chloroplast, they manufacture sugar and starch. Chloroplast is not always present, but if it is present, then those cells which contain chloroplast, they help in the manufacture of sugar as well as starch. So now we'll come to the sclerenchyma. Scleros means hard. From the term only, it is a Greek word scleros, which means hard. So now they are dead cells. Unlike these two, these are the living cells. It is dead cell, and they are completely devoid of any living protoplasm. Living protoplasm is absent in case of sclerenchyma. The cell walls of sclerenchyma are greatly thickened because of lignin. In this, cellulose are present in very less amount. In this, cellulose is present in great amount, whereas in this, the lignin is present, and lignin is a dead tissue. So the cell wall are therefore in this case are lignified. Due to the excessive thickening of the sclerenchyma cell, its cell cavity or lumen becomes greatly absent. This is the lumen present in the space, you can see. This is lumen. So in the case of sclerenchyma, because of very much higher amount of lignification, higher amount of thickening, the lumen becomes very much short or very much small or even sometimes absent. The cells of this sclerenchyma are closely packed and the intracellular spaces are completely absent. Conspicuous middle lamella exists between the two sclerenchymatous cells. A middle lamella exists between, this can be said as the middle lamella. So only when these are completely absent, now the only lamella is the thing that is dividing the two cells. This can be said as the middle lamella. Now, middle lamella is a thin layer of cementing substances containing pectin, lignin, and protein. It occurs between cell walls of two adjacent cells. These are two adjacent cells. This is the cell lamella or the middle lamella that is differentiating two different cells, and it is present in case of sclerenchyma. So now again, the cells of sclerenchyma are of two types, the fibers as well as the scleretes. Now what are fibers? The fibers are consisting of very long, narrow, thick lignified cells. The length of sclerenchymatous cells varies from 1 millimeter to 550 millimeter in different parts. What are scleretes? These are also called the stone cells. These are irregular in shape. The fibers, they are of particular shape, very much long and thick and of longer size. That is, this is said to be the fibers. These are longitudinal in shape. Whereas the scleretes, they have no particular shape. They can be of any shape: spherical, oval, cylindrical, T-shaped, dumbbell shaped, or even stellate. Stellate means star shaped. So they are dead and develop in various parts of the plants. So they are present in the cortex region, pith region, phloem, as well as hard seeds. So whatever the hard parts are present, there we can find the presence of sclerenchyma, and in the soft parts we can find the presence of parenchyma. So this is the difference between these two. Now the occurrence where they are found. The sclerenchyma occurs in abundance either in the patches or definite layers. They are found in stems around the vascular bundles. Vascular bundles are very hard part. That's why the sclerenchyma are found there. These are found in the roots, veins of leaves, hard coverings of nuts, seeds, and sclerites form the gritty part of most of the ripe fruits. In some fruits, you have must have noticed that some stony part is present. Stony part means that if you cannot chew it very completely, and it gives a brittle shape, a brittle texture to the mouth. This is because of the presence of the sclerites. So sclerites are for providing the gritty part of the most of the ripe fruits, and it contribute to the hardness of the seed coat and the nut shells. So we'll finish it here, and then the complex tissues we'll discuss in the next chapter. Thank you.